Hi, my name is Konstantin Baum, Master of Wine, and in this video I'm going back more than 100 years to the beginning of the 20th century. I won't use my DeLorean, instead I'm going to use this bottle of fermented grape juice. It looks unassuming, but this bottle is from 1916, it's 107 years old, and it survived the First and the Second World War, but it has no chance against my corkscrew. The question is it still any good? In 1916, World War I was in full swing. It was actually the year of two of the worst battles, the Battle of Verdun and the Battle of the Somme. It was also the year when Albert Einstein released the final form of his general theory of relativity, and it was the year of the Easter Rising in Ireland. Shout out to my Irish friends. If you think the world is crazy right now, this short list of events taking place in 1916 might put things into perspective. Just like with the other bottles in my cellar, I don't really know where the wine is from, but this kind of makes my detective work more interesting. The wine is from Portugal, which is generally a plus because many of the longest lived wines in the world come from Portugal, and most of the really old wines I've tasted here on this channel were from Portugal. Portugal has a long history of making high quality wines. They were one of the first countries to put a denomination of origin into place, limiting the area where you can produce a specific wine. The 20th century was difficult for Portuguese wine, but I'm not really sure whether that was already the case during the First World War. I mean, most of the war took place in Central Europe, so it didn't affect Portugal as much as, for example, France or Germany. So the wines from Portugal probably were shipped all over Europe to compensate for all of the losses in those areas that used to produce wine and were now devastated by the war. But now let's talk about the vintage 1916. There's very little information available on the vintages from the early 20th century, but I found out that some port houses declared 1916 as a vintage port year, which kind of indicates that the quality of the grapes was above average. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this table wine is also really good. When I look at the label, this is a very simplistic label, very minimalistic. It's just print on paper. The producer is called Carvalho, Ribeiro, Ferreira, which is a producer name that I've never heard before. It states Vinho Tinto on the label, which just means red wine. It has 12% of alcohol apparently, but I'm not 100% sure whether they already were able to put the exact amount of alcohol on the label back then, or whether that just indicates that it's not a fortified wine, which would contain far more alcohol. It says Colheita de 1916, which basically just means it's a vintage wine from that year. And it says Garrafeira. According to the Oxford Wine Companion, the term Garrafeira was once widely used as an indication that the wine is of superior quality and was aged at least for 30 months, including 12 months in bottle. This sounds good to me because if a wine was aged in cask before bottling, it generally is also more age-worthy after being bottled. Traditionally, Garrafeiras were blends of different wines coming from different regions, blended together by merchants, just like this one. Since the early 1990s, producers are required to put the region of origin on the label if they want to use the term Garrafeira. Carvalho, Ribeiro and Ferreira is the producer of this wine. They were founded in 1895, but it was kind of difficult to find out detailed information on them. Even their website is hidden in the internet. But they are now focusing on spirits and are not really making any wines anymore. Therefore, it's really, completely impossible to find information on this specific wine, may it be the grape varieties used or the production methods employed. While talking about searching the internet for hidden information, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Surfshark. Surfshark allows you to search the internet privately so that no one can steal your data. It also blocks ads and malware in order to protect your devices, and it informs you when any of your private data gets leaked. One of the greatest things about it is that you can select your own virtual location when accessing websites and streaming services. For example, I've tried to watch the documentary Roadrunner on Anthony Bourdain for a long time, but it's not available through any of my streaming services here in Germany. But now that I've got Surfshark installed on my devices, I can just select a server in the US and boom, I'm in sunny Los Angeles, where Roadrunner is available through Amazon Prime. So let's do this, but after this video. So if this sounds good to you and you want to support this channel, then check out Surfshark using the link in the description and the promo code Master of Wine to get an amazing deal. 83% off plus 3 extra months for free. Thank you Surfshark for supporting this channel, and now let's get back to the wine. From what I know about Portuguese wines from that period, I would expect that this is a blend of different grape varieties that are indigenous to Portugal, that it was probably treated quite extractively to get out as much as possible from the grapes, and that it was matured in large casks that are neutral and don't impart any oaky flavors. So I'm hoping that this wine is still good, and well, judging from the level alone, this is actually a pretty good level considering that the wine is more than 100 years old. The label looks good, everything kind of seems all right. But still, I mean, this is not a world-class wine, so the likelihood of it being great is, well, somewhere between this big and this big. From a scale kind of this big. So if this wine is still good, it's probably kind of brown in color. The flavor will be very tertiary, meaning that there are quite a lot of aromas that you get when wine ages, like dried fruit or spice notes or woody flavors or even mushroom character. The tannins on the palate will probably be quite round and velvety, so the wine won't be aggressive at all. Usually old wines tend to be more mellow and round. But it could also just be vinegar, and then I can still use it for my salad. So let's dig in. Opening an old bottle like this is always quite exciting because you never know what's going to happen, and well, if you're me, you usually break the cork. But anyways, let's dig in. So the capsule is covered with wax. I think this is wax, and underneath there's something like a lead capsule, which obviously can be poisonous, so you gotta be a little bit clean when removing it. But yeah, let's try to get that wax off first. Okay. Now I'm kind of starting to feel like I was in World War One with all the debris flying around here. Well, don't cancel me for this. Okay, let's get to the cork. This looks actually not too bad. So the cork is actually still there. It hasn't fallen in, which is a good sign. So fingers crossed. So now I'm going to use my trusted Durand, which, I think the cork just almost fell in. So that's not a good sign. You know, opening these old bottles is eventually going to kill me. I'm pretty sure about this. This can't be good for the heart, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, I'm going to try the 2 corkscrew method now. Using one to hold it, the other one to kind of get in there. It's not working. Oh my God, come on, don't give up. Get out the popcorn, this might take a while. I think I'm having a breakthrough moment here, so this looks better than I thought. I was actually scared that I might have to get the port tongs out, and you know, that's never a good sign if I get the port tongs out. So, but I think we can do it. I mean, look at this cork, it's coming apart, but I'll get it out, don't you worry. So in case you wondered what it would look like if someone would marinate you in wine, that's it. Not a pretty sight, but after 100 years, I mean, you can show some signs of wear and tear. But now let's taste it. I mean, just look at this. This is really dark. It's almost black. After 107 years, that's kind of extraordinary. I mean, it is turning garnet towards the rim, but that's kind of to be expected. But the black core is something that really surprised me. Doesn't mean that the wine is good though. Let's smell and taste it. I'm really stunned. I mean, you can clearly smell that the wine has been aged, but 107 years. This smells of like dark cherries, blackberries. There are also some leathery notes coming through. It's not it's not done for sure. I mean, there's still quite a bit of fruitiness there. There's obviously also this tertiaryness, which reminds me of forest floor, kind of, yeah, all kinds of different wild aromas, but it's not past, well, its drinking window for whatever reason. And also on the palate, I mean, it's still present. It actually still has tannic grip. There's good fresh acidity. There's quite a lot of body there. I mean, this is not a beauty. I don't think it ever was a beauty, but it's just stunning that after 107 years, this is still like that. It's kind of like when you dig up a grave after 100 years, you open the coffin expecting to find a skeleton inside, and then there's this 65-year-old man who doesn't maybe still have all his teeth, but he gives you a smile and some kind words to greet you. It's weird. And what shocks me the most really is the color. I mean, the color is just too dark. This just goes against any logic, anything you ever read about aging wine in any book. It's black. I don't know what they put in there, but it's a black wine with a mahogany rim. What is also interesting is that if you open old wines normally, they kind of tend to disappear quite quickly. But this one, it doesn't. It actually feels like it's opening up right now. So it might be better in an hour or two. I don't know, but this is kind of weird. Tasting this wine, it's a bit of a shame that this producer is not making wine anymore. I think they probably had something going there, but for some reason they switched to spirits. I've never tasted their spirits. Maybe they are outstanding, but this wine is something else. However, I can't in good conscience rate it very highly because I don't think it's actually like a very sophisticated wine. It's just a wine that keeps going and going. It's a wine that doesn't die. And this in and of itself is something special. But when it comes to the quality, I would actually rate this wine 86 points. I think it's quite entertaining, really interesting. The fact that it's still this good after 107 years should give it another 10 points probably. I don't know, but this experience will certainly stay with me for a long, long time. This was something else. This is so weird. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed this experience. Sometimes it is worth just opening some of these old and weird bottles that we have in our cellars just to find out whether they are the next this. So if you like this video, then please like it down here, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. My question of the day is, do you have one or two of these weird and wonderful bottles sitting in your cellar waiting to be opened? Let me know down below. I hope I see you guys again soon. Until then, stay thirsty.